guys, welcome back to Suero TV. We're continuing our conversation with Mema Lorato Boakgomo-Ntakhwana. Now we're talking about something else. Our last episode we were talking about leadership, just tapping into her experience and as well as her journey on leadership and how we can do better as leaders. But today we're going to be talking about her transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. You're now an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Welcome back, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're going to continue with our conversation, but this time we're talking about your transition. Why the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship?
Very good question. So, one of the things I subscribe to is that every corporate deserves turnover of leaders. Every corporate deserves that.
Yes.
As I said in the last episode, being a leader doesn't mean it's about you. There's a point at which you have done what you could.
You've done
And
your time.
You've done your time. It's time for somebody else to come in and do their time. And for me, that's anywhere between 5 and 7 years, max 7 years. So I had been with FNB for 6 years. I moved out of FNB Botswana to South Africa for another 2 years. A total of actually more than 12 years in First Rand Group. It was time.
It was time.
It was time to do other things. So I sort of thought about what did I enjoy in this journey of over 30 years in banking. And I realized that I enjoyed most working with women. I was at my best time when I worked with women leaders. So I thought I was going to actually start something on women leadership. I registered a company called WALE, W-A-L-E. WALE as it's going to be very big, but it stood for Women Academy Leadership Excellence. It was going to be about women. And I registered it. There was just a dream around this way.
Empowering women, basically.
Empowering women. Building the next
Leaders.
Women actually make good leaders. Another story for another episode.
That's a different episode altogether.
Yeah. So, however, there was just one thing that bothered me. I had to build this thing, as in the infrastructure, the content, all of this. And then I thought, when I wake up in the morning, while I'm building this thing, what am I going to do? So I thought, buy a business so that the business can continue keeping you busy while you are slowly building this thing. And that's how I bought Solidarity.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're now the owner of Solidarity.
I'm now the owner of Solidarity.
How's it going?
It's going very well in one way, challenging in other ways, and huge growth in all ways. Yes. So I bought Solidarity in 2016. I left First Rand in May 2016. And Gravitas Investments, which is the holding company for Solidarity, was born on the 1st of June 2016.
Oh, that was a short one.
I never.
You clearly didn't have time to think about it.
I literally left First Rand to go and clean up Solidarity. Yes.
So, did you raise any funding?
No, I didn't. I'd been working for over 30 years. So one of the things that you must do as a leader is when you are saying, I need to be here for 7 years and I need to do something different, prepare yourself for it.
Financially.
So I didn't have to look for funding at that point. And when you're a banker, you know not to look for funding when you start something. Especially when you're starting a new entrepreneur.
When you're a banker, you shouldn't go to the bank.
You shouldn't go to the bank. You should actually first understand this baby before you go to the bank, because the bank will ask you a lot of questions. You yourself don't know what's going to happen. So you first need to understand this thing,
the business first.
This baby.
Then you can probably borrow to grow it, if
then,
need be.
Yes. Or even borrow to put back the funds that you need to use for something else. So I didn't do any borrowing. I funded it myself.
Actually, touching on that, on the importance of making sure that your personal finances are in order, which is actually the main part of the show. Especially if you're going to decide that I'm retiring or I am it's time for me to move. In your personal finance. Okay, can we just emphasize on the importance of that?
Retirement planning. So it was always my dream to retire at 50. My former boss retired at 45, or my very first boss who got me into first rank retired when she was 45. No, actually, before even she got 40 to 45, I think she was 42 or something. Yes. And I was in awe. I was like, when I grow up, I want to be like her. You know? So I had set myself a vision to retire at 50. So I knew that when I retired at 50, and I must be in a space where I can choose to do whatever it is that I want to do. So you need to plan when you are still young. And you do that by savings. I did that by putting away anything that I could put away, be it in bonuses that I was earning or shares that I was earning. I was not spending them.
I was investing them.
I was investing them for the future, for the future of this dream that I was going to go into. So that is key. That is key. It gives you flexibility. You don't start with
freedom.
And freedom. And you don't start with this thing that you are carrying called debt on your back. Absolutely. Because that's a tough place to be when you're on day one of building.
Especially entrepreneurship.
Especially entrepreneurship.
Because you're going to be paying yourself a lot and having to pay other employees and not paying yourself. But you need to eat.
Yes.
So investing is very necessary. Investing well and using money well. So how did you build a customer base?
Okay. So I bought an existing business. And I was blessed in the sense that because I was from corporate, I knew all the big players. I knew the directors of big organizations. I had interacted with them. They knew me by first name. So I used that. But guess what? I went to one and I said, oh, wow, guess what? I've just bought this business. These are my plans. Like we do in corporate. And then he looked at me and he said, you've bought a broken business.
You bought a shell, basically.
Not really a shell. He said to me, look, your products, your logistics, your people, you don't deliver on time. You are on the watch list, actually.
This is another retailer, or
this is another retailer. So, so he said to me, go back, build this thing, and after you've built it, then you can come to me. But before that, sorry,
go fix those structures.
Go fix it. And then I realized just how much work was needed.
So you needed to hear that.
I needed to hear that. I knew it, but I didn't realize that even the outside world knew it. Yeah, I knew it because I got into the business and I realized that there's a lot that I need to do to get it to the level that it needs to be. But I didn't realize that even my customers knew that.
So the brand was already affected.
The brand was affected. Yeah. So, but as much as the brand was affected, we went through many debates about whether to continue in the brand.
Whether to change the name of the brand.
Whether to change the name of the brand so that we look like we're completely new. And then when we do a little bit of a market analysis, we found that there are some people who actually love the brand. Because Sally Dairy was actually the very, very first milk manufacturer in Botswana. So there were a lot of people who could still relate to the brand. So we thought instead of just ditching the baby with the bath water, rather make sure we fix.
So giving up was not an option.
Giving up was
not an option. Okay, we're going to get back to this conversation. We'll be right back. Emma, so you had to rebuild this brand basically and make sure that the brand positioning, which is a really good feedback that you actually got from your connections. But now, what has been your experience so far in terms of, obviously you had all these connections, were all the connections really working? Because I know it gets to a point where the connections that you had at corporate are not the same. The styrofoam cup, it's no longer there.
No. And that was a rude awakening for me because I thought that with all these connections, I could just go in, pick up the phone, go into somebody's office and actually have a conversation. only to find that the owners of those businesses are not the one doing the work. I need to go a little lower.
Yeah, well, they're just like, this is not me.
In the corporate sector, like, okay, no, I'll connect you with my chief buyer, and you have to have a conversation with them. And I didn't know them.
And they didn't know you.
And they didn't know me either. And to them, I was just another customer. They were looking more at my product.
Yeah.
Is it a product that sells or not in the retail space?
Is it quality?
Yes. So guess what? I had to start from scratch, from bottom. I remember my first meeting with this customer. Coming from corporate, I was told to come at 11. I get there 11, and then the lady at the reception said to me, join the queue. I said, oh, no, I've got a meeting at 11. She says, yeah, so does everybody who's here.
They're all told 11.
I was like, is this how it went?
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's where that humility...
It humbles you.
Entrepreneurship humbles you. If you don't have humility as a value, please don't go into entrepreneurship because you'll be humbled.
Yeah, absolutely. It will really humble you.
It'll humble you. And when you're coming from corporate and from these...
Everybody respects you, everybody listens to you. Aircon.
So I joined this queue and I look around and I see there's a woman there who has a bunch of spinach which is wilting because it's been sitting there for too long.
She's trying to sell it.
And
this is part of it.
I said, I've arrived.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is actually quite interesting. So how now did you market your business? How did you now rebrand the business? Take us through that now in terms of now, customers. This is your buyers, obviously, now starting to gain confidence on it.
Yeah. So the thing that works in terms of positioning products that I see working a lot right now is actually going to social media. It's cheap. It reaches a lot of people at the same time, and you can do many things with it. I haven't done it. And it's not because I don't like it. It's because, and you can argue that my thing has taken too long. It's because I was a little, let me use the word, disappointed with our products when we took over. And being the perfectionist that I am, I wanted to brand products that could leave my brand. And when I say my brand, I'm not talking about Solidaire, I'm talking
Lorato, So when we're buying you, we're buying you.
Yes. So I spent a lot of time fixing the product, fixing what it looked like, fixing the people, fixing all of those things, the culture. I was actually embarrassed to actually go into social media and say, this belongs to me. So
at the beginning.
So for me, positioning, I was trying to do positioning the same way that I know how. Let the work speak for itself and let the product sell itself. And it has worked to a point. But I must say, when we were hit by the pandemic in 2020, we were only 3 years old. And that was the time when we had positioned ourselves to really go big onto this. Because it's also not cheap to actually do it properly. I don't like half-done measures. So, and then, of course, COVID came, and of course, that's another story for another day. But I do want to, at some point, do that, position ourselves properly into the social media space. Currently, I'm using the strategy where the product must sell itself. And we have seen this happening with our drinking yogurt. It's really selling itself. It's a really good product, and customers love it.
What is the name of the drinking yogurt?
It's called Hydro. It's called Hydro, but it's got Salis on the side. Yes.
Oh, no, with the Salis on the side.
Yes, the Salis on the side. Yes, look out for the Salis on the side. Yes, but that product is doing so well. We can actually, we can't keep up with the demand because it's a great product. So yes, it has proven that strategy to be correct, to say a great product will sell itself. But it doesn't always happen like that.
So you need to back it up.
You need to back it up.
Have
you need
consistency.
You need to give it a lift.
Is it hard to do business in Botswana? What is your view on that?
It's extremely hard to do business in Botswana. And one of the big reasons that I have found out is because we don't believe in ourselves as Botswana. Wait until people hear this is a Botswana made product or it's made out of Lorato's factory.
Yeah.
They say, it's not a good product. It's made from here.
We stop
buying it. Botswana are so brand conscious. I don't know. I think it's because we grew up with an economy that had a lot of money to import things, and we live brands that don't belong in this country.
Yeah.
I've tried to educate people to say, remember, a country brand provides jobs for you and your children.
Yeah.
And if you don't support a country brand, you are actually just stabbing yourself literally in the stomach.
Yeah, the 150 employees.
The 115 people that I have would not be there if there was no brand.
Absolutely. And that could be your uncle, that could be your niece, that could be anybody.
Anybody, yes.
Yeah.
So yes, it's difficult to do business. And so we've got this stigma, which equates locally produced products to actually products that are worse
low
off.
quality. I wonder where this perception comes from.
It was probably true at some point, because we're not known as a manufacturing company. So manufacturing is a pretty new thing
in Botswana.
So when you start as a manufacturing business, you will then go through some learning periods wherein your product is not necessarily the best out there.
Yeah.
And I can live from experience. Our product was not the best out there.
Yeah.
We had to really work hard and invest actually in the factory, lots of money to actually make that product to be a good quality product.
So that even when we buy, we now taste the difference.
Yes, but customers don't give you that chance. So once they label your product as bad,
it stays. It's interesting, isn't it? Branding is so important.
Yes, it is so important.
Yeah, once a bad experience, it just stays.
Yes, and I've seen products that were labeled as very good products. And when I went and I tasted them in the food industry, they were actually becoming very bad products. But because they started as being the product that were good and up there, that perception stayed. And even when they went down, they were still given benefit of the doubt.
Me they were good.
And then they're given a next chance. And hopefully by that time, they've also started improving. So they stay. Yes.
Wow. Actually, this is very interesting aspect of branding that we need to go deeper in. We're going to just take a break and then we will be right back. All right, welcome back as we are having a chat with Mema Lorato and Ntakhwana. We are talking about her transition into entrepreneurship and her journey so far in Botswana. Emma, we were talking about Botswana being hard to do business in Botswana. So besides the fact that we don't support each other, how is the cost? How's the cost of manufacturing in Botswana?
Actually, the cost compared to our South African counterparts is actually much lower.
Is that right?
That's right.
How so?
For one, remember, we've got a big country, but our markets are centered in certain places. Our big areas are centered in, our big customer base is centered in certain areas. Yes. So logistics, for one, is cheaper than in South Africa. In South Africa, I've got a partner who has to drive 200 kilometers every day, whose trucks have to drive 200 kilometers every day, just to take stuff to their customers. Our furthest that we take our product to is Mau, but we only go to Mau sometimes once a week, sometimes once in 2 weeks to deliver.
This is cheaper.
So it is, logistics is a lot cheaper in Botswana than in South Africa. Salaries are a lot cheaper in Botswana than they are in South Africa. Again, because in South Africa, people travel long distances to get to work. In Botswana, they don't.
And the economies are different too.
And it's a different economy, it's different pricing structures. So, however, the only thing that's expensive is technicians. We need to train technicians.
To be local.
Instead
of importing them.
Instead of importing them. To bring a technician in South Africa to come in and service a machine in Botswana.
I can imagine it's the accommodation.
And the rates per hour, and they start charging the rate per hour the time they leave their office. To the time they go back to their office.
And they take that time, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course they take that time. So that's the expense bit. But all in all, I believe that we can produce things in this country cheaper.
We can. So you think the manufacturing industry actually has a huge potential.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge potential.
Yeah.
But we have to choose our battles.
Yeah.
We have to choose which products to manufacture. We can't just manufacture everything and anything.
Depending on the logistics, like you're saying as well,
Yes.
of bringing in the raw materials.
Yes, of bringing in the raw materials. Yes.
As well. Because that's a factor.
Yes, we should position ourselves to manufacture where we've got a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Whether we are manufacturing for import substitution or whether we are manufacturing for exports.
Yes, all right. Tell me about the culture that you're building in your business.
Wow, entrepreneurship is different.
Yeah.
And I've been hit by two whammies. One, I'm moving from a corporate culture to an SMME.
Yes.
But actually, not just as an SMME, but a manufacturing SMME.
Yes.
So the type of person who works there is like blue collar.
Hi guys, welcome back to Suero TV. We're continuing our conversation with Lorato Boakgomo-Ntakhwana.
You go into a meeting and try to have a conversation, they just look at you like,
what are you on about?
We're not allowed to speak here. We're just allowed to listen and be told.
That's the culture you said you had to.
So I had to go in and actually force them because it was so difficult for them. Yeah. A lot of the people who work in my factory had actually been in my factory for more than 10 years when I bought the business. So it was so difficult for them to transition. You call a meeting to get everybody to understand what you are doing, your vision. You give them numbers and they say, she's making a lot of money.
How did you really?
And then they get very high. Yeah. They don't understand those concepts. Yeah. For them, it's bread and butter issues. Yeah. I come here, I work, I take whatever little money, I pay rent, I don't have anything else. And
so as a leader, you needed to understand the level of conversation to have with them.
I needed to understand that level of conversation, and I needed to understand what makes them tick.
Yeah.
While at the same time minding the fact that for them it's all about give me more pay. Like they don't realize that for me to give them more, they have to work harder.
They have to work harder. They have to produce more.
They have to produce more. They have to make everything better. They have to be more efficient. They must stop wasting.
Yeah, wasting.
They thought it was a one-way bet.
Yeah. So did you have how is that going? It's been how many years now?
It's been more than 5 years now. We're going for our 6th year.
Yeah, how's it been going?
It's going well, slow, but well. We're getting there. At least now we can have conversations in meetings.
Yes,
now they're talking. Yeah, now they're talking. Now it's like too much talk, too loud. So yes, now we're at the stage where I say, you also take accountability.
Be a leader in
your own space and get everybody to lead in your own space. And also communicate. When I sit here with the team, the leadership team, when you go out there, talk to them about what we talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
no, this is actually quite an interesting. So, what areas can Botswana improve on to make it easier for entrepreneurs to function? What do you think?
That's a mouthful, eh? Yeah. For one, we have got many structures set up by government to help the entrepreneur, especially the small entrepreneur, to be successful, right? We have got the layers, which I chair. We have got the CEDAs, we have got the NDBs, and all of those. Yes. You know what I'm missing? I'm missing teach them how to be an entrepreneur and what it actually means.
Yeah, it's not about the money.
No. Yeah. Teach them about all the struggles that they're going to go through and all the things that are going to make them fail.
So that they are aware and prepare for them. Yeah.
And I've been asked this question before. What would you have done? Would you like to have been an entrepreneur and become corporate, or do you like to have been corporate to become corporate entrepreneur? And I always say, I'm so grateful corporate taught me a lot of things.
Yeah, structure.
It taught me structure, it taught me governance, it taught me how to think.
How to communicate.
Now, a lot of our entrepreneurs are young people.
They don't have experience.
We have had it the other way around. And I really believe in Botswana we're making a mistake. I believe that people such as myself should move out of corporate to allow the young people to come in and use corporate to learn. Because when you are an entrepreneur, you have to pay for that learning. It's not easy. But corporates have got balance sheets to train. So train, get access to this training, and then go out there and do your thing.
Absolutely.
Now, we do this where people who are experienced stay in jobs. They are too fearful
of leaving
to make the leap.
Why do you think people are so fearful of making the leap? Actually, it's not only in Botswana, it's in many countries.
Yes, it's in many countries, but more so in a country such as Botswana, because we don't have role models. We don't have people who have done it. Manti has done it. Look at her now. So it means it's possible, right? And when you don't have role models who have actually done it, and actually what we have are people who have gone out of corporate and went right back.
It's too hard here.
It's too difficult.
This is
so what does that do? It just makes people a lot more fearful that if she couldn't do it, if he couldn't do it,
how can I do it?
How can I do it?
Yes, and also let's talk about now the structures in place, like you're saying, particularly with the LEAs, the CEDAs, and everything, they have the funding. But then, are we using the right people as well for the entrepreneurs? Because I feel like we need to use the entrepreneurs to teach the other entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
Because as a CEDA employee, you have no idea how entrepreneurship. Yes, you have the basics, but the entrepreneur is the one that can teach.
You've never experienced it.
You've never experienced it. So why don't we get the entrepreneurs to come in and train the entrepreneurs that are coming in? Would that not help as well?
Certainly help.
Yeah.
A lot. One of my conversations at LEA was exactly that.
Yes.
How many of you guys have actually managed businesses so that when you go out,
you know
you are talking from experience. And there were very few. Even in the leadership of LEA, there were very few people who have actually managed their own businesses. I'm not saying that you can't learn some of these things, but you can learn from people who have done it. So if in your leadership team, you've got half the team at least having had the experience, they can share that experience with you, with the team. But if there is nobody,
how are they going to, what are they going to teach? This is basically it.
You have no idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Ntakhwana, how many hours do you have on average? How is entrepreneurship right now? As compared to corporate, how many hours are you working?
Well, 5 years down the line, it's not as difficult as it was at the beginning. Remember, there was a lot to fix at the beginning. It's done. We have fixed a lot of things. I work many hours. And that's not because of the entrepreneur as much as it's because I'm involved in a lot of things.
Okay. Not only because of Solidarity.
Not only because of Solidarity. And why is that? Because I need to keep my mind going, active, running. So if I was to have just conversations with my blue collar workers, guess what?
Yeah, you're gonna have people. Yes. I understand you very well. Do you ever have moments where you're like, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
The first 2 years, I would sit up at night and say, oh!
Did you have nightmares?
I had nightmares. I'll sit up and just literally fend myself like, are you sure? Because there was just so much to fix. And when your balance sheet is your own money out of the pocket, and every single time I need more out of my pocket, I need more out of my pocket, and your pocket is getting emptier and emptier and emptier, it really focuses the mind. Corporates have got big balance sheets. Sometimes you don't even realize just how much you are spending. There's a budget for it. Oh, go ahead. There's lots of money that's coming back, so go ahead. But entrepreneurship, it's all about your money. So even somebody like me who started with their own money, at some point you realize every time I grow, it's more money that's needed for that growth. So I go for funding, and then I grow a little bit more, and then more money is needed for the next growth. And then you say, where do I stop with this? Where is this thing now going to start carrying itself?
Can you describe your typical day? Outline your typical day.
So there's very little working from home for me because my day starts when I enter the factory building. Just because of that excellence thing that I always aspire to. When I enter the factory building, the first thing I see is the outside clean. Are the trucks that are leaving are they clean? Are the people who are driving them?
Like you said, this is what you did.
This is what I did. So that's how I start my day. So even before I go sit at my desk, I'm already outside shouting, why is that truck dirty? Where is it going? Why are you looking not presentable? Why is this being done? Why is that? So my walkthrough, my day starts right with the time when I enter the factory, my walkthrough. Walk through the factory, walk through the loading areas, and then I go sit at my table.
After everything else.
After everything else. And sometimes by that time, I'm huffing and puffing because things are not going well.
We're going to go for a break so that we can actually come back to and wrap up the conversation. And we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Guys, we'll continue our conversation with Mema Ntakhwana. We were talking about your day. And that when you arrive in the factory, first thing you check what's wrong with you. Check if everything is in order. Basically, that's how your day looks, and then you can go sit in your office. What time do you knock off?
I normally go home around 7 or so. I guess I'm used to the long hours. So for me, long hours.
Nothing. So that's what corporate teaches.
Because that's what corporate teaches you. Yes.
No, absolutely.
Yes. So I don't mind waking up until late. And actually, I enjoy it when the factory is quieting down. They leave around 5. And then I can now reflect and do my things. Because I've got people running in and out of my office all the time. Because remember, there's an environment where people find it difficult to take decisions. So they're constantly checking with me.
Can we?
This is broken. What do we do? And I don't even trust them to take those decisions because they're not there yet.
So there's need for an operations manager.
There's need for an operations manager. Still has need for an operations manager. But guess what? Challenges that I've talked about. How many operations managers do you think we have in manufacturing environments? Very, very few.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because it's a new industry for us. And it's the few that are there have all worked for big companies.
So they don't get the...
That's
the disadvantage sometimes of corporate, that it really spoils us. We expect high salaries and as well as also things to do themselves.
So at the beginning, I had this big structure, well, big in the sense that I had an operations manager, I had finance manager. But the kind of people who are going to come there, the people who are going to be taught by me.
No, absolutely. No, okay. What is your greatest fear and how are you managing fear?
My greatest fear right now is what I talked about earlier. If I fail, there's a lot of people who are watching and saying, corporate leaders can't do this thing, man. They can't. There's a lot of pressure on me as an individual to succeed.
What's your... Oh, sorry, you wanted to finish?
Yes, no, that's really it. And if I don't, I would take a lot of dreams and aspirations away from people.
So you need to succeed.
I need to succeed.
This has to work.
This has to work. Because they saw me succeed in corporate. Now, if I don't succeed in entrepreneurship, they're going to say, this thing is so difficult if she can't do it.
No, absolutely. And you know, the thing is, I think we really need to also talk about this, that just because you fail in one area of entrepreneurship doesn't mean you failed entirely. It means diversify. Maybe it means take this route or whatever.
Yes, very, very true.
Well, what's your view on that?
Very true. For me personally, I believe you can be anything. And that belief comes from backing myself up, my self-worth. So if I fail, for me, in this one thing, I may not have the courage to pursue something else. But you are right. People mustn't think just because I've got that attitude, that is the attitude. Some people are not cut out from the same cloth. Well, everyone is not cut from the same cloth. So some people may find that it's easier to try one thing, and if that doesn't work, then try something else.
Do you think everybody can be an entrepreneur?
Yes, to an extent, provided you've got a very good support system. I believe not everybody can be successful at entrepreneurship. I think it takes a certain type of person.
Personality, isn't it?
Personality. Yes, certainly.
What's your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
You know what I love about what I do? When I go out there and I touch my product and I see people buying my product, that makes me feel so good. I feel so satisfied just watching it. I'm my own boss.
You're not reporting to anyone this time.
I'm my own boss.
And this is your baby.
This is my baby. Everything depends on me.
Yeah.
I rise and fall with it.
What entrepreneurial tricks have you discovered to keep you focused?
The biggest one is know how to manage your cash flows.
Yeah. Know how to manage your cash flows.
That is a biggie.
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs fail because they don't know how to manage their cash flows. Yeah. Small, medium entrepreneurship, sometimes there's a lot of cash that comes your way, and you think you've made it.
Yeah, this is just revenue.
This is just revenue.
Yeah.
I discovered, again, given my finance background, I guess it was a very quick discovery. Yeah. That the more I grew, so I'm in a business where my suppliers' average pay days is 15 days, so 30 days to 1 day. And I receive money 45 to 60 days later. Yeah. So that gap is the funding gap. Yeah. So every time I grow,
working capital
is just growing with it. Yeah. And it can actually stop me from growing. Yeah. Because if I grow too fast, that working capital needs to come in very fast. Yeah. So understanding just that.
How fast to grow, how to strike the balance.
How to strike the balance between what I need in terms of funding and this growth that is coming. Yeah. And also doing it in a profitable way. Yes. Because it can also grow very quickly, but unprofitable. Wow. Yes.
So the finance background really helps you.
So understanding the cash flows, understanding what they mean, understanding that gap, your average. And I was just amazed that people don't necessarily understand it. Yeah. That average pay and average receipt. Yeah. Period. If you ask most entrepreneurs, they don't know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, they don't. So they should do basics, at least accounting for dummies, whatever, accounting for entrepreneurs.
Basic things.
Basic things. No, absolutely. This is what I always preach. By the way, it is financial literacy, education at the end of the day. Yes. Lorato, how do you keep your team motivated? I remember the last time when you were at FNB, you used to buy your team nice things every year, like literally from laptops to TVs. I don't think anybody can ever forget that era because everybody wanted to work for FNB at that time. What was your strategy there? And are you also doing it for this team or it's not there yet? Yeah.
So my relationship manager, who's responsible for my account in FNB, came our first year in December, and he asked me that question. Yeah. So I took him to the back and I say, this is how I'm doing it now. In there were food packs for Christmas, Christmas hampers. Yes. Because the FNB strategy of actually giving people things was not just about presents. There was two big things that came behind it. Yes. The one is to thank family and the other one is to help family.
So that supports the team to work.
Wow. So it was a family-based thing. Yeah. And you have no idea how emotional family was. I received tons of letters from children thanking me for having TV in their house for the first time. Man. And now I don't have money to buy 115 people TVs anymore.
I don't think so, not now.
But guess what?
Not now.
This is the bread and butter issues. Yeah. Guess what? I lead a team that cannot even afford, some of them, to have 3 good meals in a day, giving to families. Yeah. So I buy them food. I buy them food to take to their families. Yes. Again. Yes. And I remember in 2020, we didn't do it for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was a tough year.
It was a tough year. Yeah. And they were devastated. They were devastated, and I didn't actually realize just how much of an impact it is. Until one of them came to me and said to me, do you know what I do with my food? I actually don't take it to my house. I take it to my mother's house. Because we buy like big things, like 10 kg rice, 25 kgs.
This is Christmas time.
This is Christmas time. We normally do it around Christmas. And I realized that while I thought they didn't appreciate it, they actually do.
Yeah, it goes a long way.
So actually, we ended up doing it in January.
Yes, January 2021.
So 2020, No, 2020 we did it. We didn't do it in 2021 last year.
Ah.
So because of that conversation, I actually did it now in January on Valentine's Day, actually in February.
Wow, that's amazing. It's the best Valentine's Day. So basically what you're saying is it's also, I think the conversation here, so what it reveals as well is it's important to give your leader feedback. Because sometimes you don't know. You generally don't know the impact, the level of impact. It does.
Yes, that too. But also, I said to them, it also gives you time to reflect and appreciate. It brings gratitude in people. Because when you do things year after year, they start thinking it's a right.
Yeah. So that pause.
That pause was enough for them to say, oh.
Yeah, so it's important to have that. So as we are coming to the end of our conversation, who's your greatest inspiration?
Yeah, I've got many people who inspire me, men and women. But my greatest inspiration came from my grandmother. I lived the first 5 years of my life with my grandmother because my mother and my dad were moving around quite a lot. My father worked in the civil service and he was being transferred. He was a district commissioner. So he was transferred from one area to another area to another area, and they didn't think it was stable for me. I mean, they stayed in my first 5 years in Sabong or Khansi or something. So they left me with my grandmother. And my grandmother taught me things.
Values that you're using now. Yes.
My grandmother validated me in ways that I didn't realize at the time, that I got to realize later. My grandmother called me Ngwanyana Makoa. She spoke to me.
Manifested it, don't you? Wow.
I didn't realize it at the time, but she was building in me this thing that I'm going to be somebody special.
Yes, she was manifesting. So, oh gosh, this comes back to how we raise our kids.
My grandmother had 12 other kids. My mother is the firstborn, but I actually had my uncles and aunts who were about the same age as me or 2 or 3 years younger. So I was not the only kid there, but she made me feel special. So she was my greatest inspiration, my grandmother. And of course, other great women behind my mother, and a lot of other great women inspire me. I'm really a woman leader who loves women. But there are men who have inspired me as well. I get inspired by men who want to do things that are bigger than themselves.
Leaders.
But not just leaders. Leaders, visionary leaders. And there are a lot in the world. One of the people that I really read up on a lot is Wayne Dyer. He writes on spiritual leadership. And the last book of his that I read is called What I Know for Sure. It's a great book. Read it. It reflects on his life and why certain things happen in certain ways. They are actually part of your journey. They need to be happening.
Yes, absolutely. This is a great conversation. Thank you for the depth. Thank you so much for this conversation. Your favorite all-time book?
Wayne Dyer.
Still the same one.
But yes, I've read another book lately. It was written by a yogi. I'm into yoga. This is a yoga symbol, and it's called The Surrender Experiment. How to surrender yourself to the unfolding events of the universe. It's a great book.
Just let God lead.
Yes.
Let God
by
lead.
Singh. Let God lead.
Let God lead.
Yes. Yeah, it made me cry. Those 2 books made me cry. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for coming. I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for the inspiration. Thank you for coming. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Emma, I don't know if you have any last words.
I think we've spoken a lot.
We've spoken a lot. I think so, guys. Thank you so much for coming. This was an amazing conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Bye for now.